Well, welcome. I'm Karen Beck Dudley. I'm the Dean of the College of Business, for those of you who don't know me. And throughout the year, we invite alumni and business leaders who represent the best in their field to share their insights on current business topics and the best business practices. We believe these speakers enhance your education and enrich your experience at the College of Business. So today I'm very happy to introduce Art Garcia as our 2013 Charles A. Bruning Distinguished Speaker. This speaker series is underwritten through the generosity of our late alumnus, Charles A. Bruning, and is really reserved, we only do them twice a year, for our alumni who are at the pinnacles of their success. So Art is one of those people, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We've actually been trying to get him for the last 2 years, pretty much. So we really appreciate you coming up. Art Garcia graduated in 1983 with a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Florida State University. How many of you are accounting majors?
All right, got a few here.
And he's a certified public accountant. Following graduation, he spent 14 years with the Miami office of the accounting firm of Coopers Lybrand as a senior manager of business assurance. And for those of you who are too young, which is all of you, there used to be 8 big accounting firms rather than 4, and Coopers Lybrand was one of the 8. He joined Ryder Systems, a Fortune 500 company, in 1997 as senior manager of corporate accounting. As you may know, Ryder is a leading provider of commercial transportation, logistics, supply chain management solutions, and they serve customers throughout North America, Europe, and Asia. Its products and services encompass everything from fleet management to large-scale supply chain solutions and turnkey transportation solutions, making commerce flow efficiently, reliably, and safely. Today, Mr. Garcia is Ryder's Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. He's responsible for the financial management, including finance and audit, strategic sourcing, corporate strategy, and investor relations. He is also a member of Ryder's executive leadership team. Before achieving his current position, Mr. Garcia was the Senior Vice President and Controller for Ryder, responsible for corporate accounting and planning, internal and external financial reporting, vehicle administration, payroll and shared services, and insurance accounting. He also served as Group Director of Accounting Services, where he supervised all of Ryder's internal financial reporting activities, vehicle administration, and payroll services. So let's give him a great old welcome. It's my pleasure to introduce Art Garcia.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys taking the time out to meet with me and talk a little bit today. It's an honor to be here. I don't get up here nearly as often as I would like. I was here a couple weeks ago for the big hurricane beatdown, which was good. And I got out of the plane today and it was 45, so I was in shock here, leaving Miami about 80. So Karen, thanks for the intro. I appreciate that. You have a lot of things to list there when you get up to be 50 plus, and you've been out of school now almost 30 years. So I was in the same spot you guys were 30 years ago, going through my career and going through school, and obviously have a passion for what you're doing. I think that's going to be critical to any of you all as you want to look forward. You have to like what you do, have a passion for it, and that can drive you down the road to success. So as you said, I started here, graduated 83, 84, whatever that time period was. I always kind of forget at this point, try to make myself younger, graduate a little later. But you know, in the accounting curriculum is a little bit easier, I find, to get placed out there. At least it was back when I was going through school, and it was a great foundation for me to get into public accounting and work with a lot of different customers, especially in Miami. Miami's a middle market. It's not a huge city like say Atlanta or something. You gain expertise working with a lot of different customers across the spectrum. A decent amount of public companies also, and that helps give you a lot of broad-based business knowledge, which is important. And so from there it led to me moving to Ryder, and I'll talk a little bit about Ryder in a second. And then I took different varying jobs within Ryder over the years, and as I think back as to what leads you to be successful, a lot of it is I think you always have to have a passion for what you do. Like I said, you have to exercise good judgment, high character. I mean, I know Ryder, we look for that all the time. I also You want to strive to make good decisions, good results. At the end of the day, you have to have some successes in your corner. But you always have to also think about your team as a whole, I've found, and that I always try to position my groups, and I've had many over the years, better when I left than when I started. So it's not always about what's best for me and trying to move myself ahead. It's what I'm trying to move my group and the company ahead. And I think that's going to be important no matter what you do in life, is that it can't always be about yourself. It's got to be about the team and making the company or whatever better. And I found that those are the when you have that mindset, it tends to lead to good things for everyone down the road. So again, an honor to be here today. I want to give you a little bit of background on Ryder. It's a transportation company. It's not always the sexiest type of thing to talk about, a transportation company, but I think in the state of Florida we're one of the few big public companies. So I think it's important that you learn a little bit about us. So again, as Karen said, we're a Fortune 500 company, one of the few especially in South Florida. There's probably only a handful of Fortune 500 companies in South Florida. We specialize in fleet management solutions and supply chain solutions, and I'll talk a little bit more about those as we go through it. Put down there some of our key stats. We're a $6 billion company, as we were at the end of 2012. We're probably going to be about 5-6% higher than that, so maybe almost $7 billion by the end of this year. Our focus is in the next 2 or 3 years to be a $9 billion company as we look down the road. We have a lot of nice growth opportunities in our business, and we're really excited about our prospects. Again, we're a leasing and rental company is the core of what we've done historically, so it's a very asset-intensive business. You can see we have over $8 billion in assets, and that's a function of all the trucks that we own and we lease to customers. We have about 200,000 vehicles that we maintain across our whole network. Most of those we own, and we either lease them to customers on a long-term basis or we rent them out on a short-term basis. About 28,000 employees worldwide. We are headquartered in Miami, so some of you raised your hand, so we don't get a lot from, I guess, South Florida probably or FSU probably has more from South Florida now than it was 30 years ago when I was here. But the Magic City is something else. It's called that for a reason. So if you're not from there, you ought to visit there, and you probably have over the years. It's a great place to live. We have operations, we're primarily a North American-based company. The core is going to be in the U.S. We have operations in Canada, smaller business, but a growing business in Mexico. And then we also have a leasing operation in the U.K. So there's a lot of opportunities for our people. We have many people with our company have worked in different parts of the business, different business segments, as well as different functions within finance. So there's a lot of nice opportunities in the company. This is a little story of the early years of Ryder. We can go back to, we have the little picture of Jim Ryder. Ryder's been around for 80 years. It was established by Jim Ryder back in 1933. You can see Jim was a real time-conscious guy there. He had 2 watches on, which is something else. But this is a classic entrepreneurial story where a guy starts a business with 1 truck in 1933, and we've grown it into what it is now. So a lot of his belief about the importance of customer service and be able to help customers meet on their promises is really what's the core of Ryder, and that's the core of any customer service operation, really. So Ryder was incorporated, went public 1955, so that was before I was even born. So we've been a public company forever. Our ticker symbol, I was telling Karen earlier, our ticker symbol is R, the letter R, on the New York Stock Exchange. So, just in the order of how they hand out those, we're probably somewhat early in the list there to get an R versus most companies today, they're going to give you more letters to your ticker symbol. We started off again as a full-service leasing and rental company. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And we've it went into logistics, supply chain solutions, probably almost 30 years ago. It said here our first customer was Toyota. That's still one of our anchor automotive customers, but Toyota and GM were really one of our first supply chain customers that we started providing that service to back in the mid-'80s. All right, so here just to cover our business model, you can see we're an outsourcing company, a transportation outsourcing company. So we're unique in that we don't have a peer in our public company space. You know, as you guys are going through all your finance work, you would probably do company reviews, and a lot of times you try to compare companies to see how profitable they are, how efficient they are with their capital, what's their earnings growth and the like. And we're a unique company in that we don't have a spot-on peer out there that's in the public company space. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's good in that it helps make us unique. You can get investors who have interest in your company because it's not that easy for all the investors out there to follow, so you can have some untapped potential. It's tough in that you got to end up spending a lot more time getting investors up to speed with the company and what they do. Sometimes it's even a challenge for our customers, because you'd be surprised how many customers don't always know the full suite of products that Ryder provides. A lot of times people think of us just as well, you guys wouldn't know this because you all were too young, but we used to have a consumer truck rental business, which was the yellow truck business. We used to advertise on TV and everything, and we sold that business back in the mid-'90s. And customers still think of us sometimes as a consumer truck rental business. We're really more of a B2B operation now. But as an outsourcer, we provide a suite of services, from the most basic being commercial rental, which is just what you think about if you rent a car. You can rent a truck if you're a business, right? We'll rent it for a day, a week, a month. Pretty big operation, almost $1 billion a year in that. The next step of up the outsourcing chain, if you will be leasing a truck to a customer. So at that point, you've decided you want a truck for a longer term basis. If you're a company, it's a big investment. Trucks cost $100,000 a piece. If you want to have a truck that's yours, dedicated to you for 6 or 7 years, your option is to buy it yourself or to lease it from a company like Ryder. So leasing it, we kind of take away some of the risks, so we can buy it cheaper than most companies. We can sell it more at the back end, so we can give a customer a more cost-effective rate. So conceptually, customers at times can be concerned about whether they lose flexibility by leasing and all that, but it's really an all-in sales. It's a 10 to 15% value prop for customers, so it is a good deal. The next step as you go down here, as we go around the clock, if you will be dedicated contract carriage, and that is where customers have already, decided to outsource the ownership and maintenance of the vehicle, but now they want to also outsource the driver. So at this point, a lot of companies have drivers who are moving their product around, whether it's to customers or sometimes it's to other stores within their network. They outsource that, and we just take over that whole transportation element for them. It's a natural evolution up the outsourcing chain. And the last one would be supply chain, which I call more just pure logistics, and that's going to be even more complex outsourcing, where we take over whole warehouses, million square foot warehouses for customers, thousands of employees there. We'll handle all that for them. So it's just another move up the ladder. At the end of the day, it's like anything in business, right? We have to provide value to customers. That's the name of the game. Outsourcing allows customers to have that same service provided for a lower cost, or at the same cost but provided more efficiently. And also, in most cases, these services are not core to what the customers are doing, right? Like Domino's or Coca-Cola, whoever our customers, they're not in the core transportation business. So a lot of times you don't have expertise, you want to outsource that service if you're not an expert in it. Okay, let's a little bit more into our fleet management business. Again, this is probably 2/3 of our revenue comes from this operation. The core is the full service lease offering, which is to the left. Here is where we're actually, it's just like you would think about under a car lease, where we're gonna buy the truck, lease it to a customer for 7 years. Typically, they bring it back to us and they walk away at that point, and we sell it for them. We have about $7.5 billion of assets, original cost deployed in that business, so it's a very asset intensive. It's a finance offering is really what it is. So in most cases, you think of Ryder as a truck leasing or a rental company, but really we're a big finance company also, is really what we are. The other core product line, again, is the commercial rental. If you think about it on the road, if you're ever, hopefully now, after this, you'll go out. If you see a truck on the road, you'll look at it, and especially if you see a white Ryder truck. I saw some at the stadium the other day when I was there. If you see a white Ryder truck, that's a rental truck. It's a commercial rental truck. We have about 40,000 of those. We have about 120,000 lease trucks, so 3 times as many lease trucks that are out there, and those are branded really as the customer's vehicle. So if we're leasing a truck to Domino's, it'll have Domino's logoed on the trailer or on the truck. If you look on the cab of a truck, you see a Ryder sticker, that would tell you it's a Ryder truck. So you'd be surprised, and I do this a lot with investors after they start getting, they start understanding the company, you see how big and how integrated we are into transportation in the U.S. We have about 13,000 lease customers. So it really spans the nature of the economy. We kind of flow with that. But it also shows the nature of our business in that we have about 120,000 trucks, we have 13,000 customers. We're talking about 10 trucks per customer. So a lot of our business is really done with these smaller companies who are leasing 5 to 15 trucks with us. Again, commercial rental is critical to us because about half of our business comes from lease customers. So our lease customers use this for excess capacity. Like if you think about it as you typically need 7 trucks in your business for most of your work, but certain times of the year you need 10. Instead of leasing 10 trucks, you're gonna lease 7 and rent 3 from me during your high volume periods. So that's why it's a very important product line for us. Also, over the years, we convert customers. They start with us just as rental customers, and we have a whole sales team that's focused on just upselling them from commercial rental into full service lease. This is a view of, for us, obviously having $8 billion of assets in our business, it's critical that we deploy those, maximize their utilization over the life. That's good for us, it's good for our customers, it's good for our shareholders and the like. So it just kind of goes through some of the key points of what we look at. We are one of the bigger purchasers of trucks in the country. We spend about $2 billion a year on trucks, so we're going to buy them at a better rate than virtually anyone. At our core, Ryder is a maintenance company, right? We lease trucks, but we really maintain them. We have 800 facilities across the world. Most of those are in the U.S. And really that's what our customers value as we survey them and understand really what brings them to Ryder. It would be typically our ability to provide maintenance solutions to them. In essence, we almost sell uptime to customers. We sell them the ability that if you lease a truck with Ryder, you're going to have certainty that you're going to always have a truck that's going to meet your needs, and you can provide your service to your customer. So we have, like it says there, over 4,000 technicians. It's really a core of what we do. As you go through the spectrum there, we obviously monitor performance, provide information to our customers over the life cycle of the truck. We redeploy vehicles as it's needed. There's roughly 5,000 units that are coming up for redeployment in our normal course of business. And at the back end, we sell trucks. We're probably the biggest reseller out there on a retail basis. We sell upwards 25,000 trucks a year. We have 60 used truck centers across the country to do that. And it's important because it's a key part of the value prop for us, and that helps us maximize the back-end value, allows us to be most competitive with customers. All right, so with that, I go a little bit into our other key product line, which is supply chain solutions. This is, as you move up the value chain, you can see about half of our revenue comes from the dedicated contract carriage. We talked about that and what that really is. The other big chunk of that would be more pure logistics associated with warehouse management, distribution management, and the like. You can see that the makeup of the businesses are much different, though. Remember, we talked about the FMS business, the leasing and rental business, had 13,000 customers. Here we're talking about 500-600 customers max. Most of them are household names that you would be aware of, and these are much bigger operations per account. It's just also highlights the complexity of what we do in this product offering and why it's so important that we have the expertise. So we have hundreds of logistics engineers who work in our operation that really help us sell these services to customers. And also in dedicated, creating the most optimized transportation routes for customers. That's really what they want and are looking for from Ryder. Here's a little example of Toyota. Again, was one of our starting accounts. It's one of our anchor automotive accounts. You can see what we do for them. We service about eight out of their 12 facilities in the U.S. So we don't have them all, but maybe one day we will. You never know. We are their largest logistics provider. And you can see, on to the left there, it provides some example of some of the services that really can move from warehouse management all the way to dedicated contract carriage. So ultimately, we're in the business of helping customers save money, provide benefits, so help them do it for a cheaper price than what they do it today. Takes away some of the complexity. They're not experts in running all this, we are. And that's kind of the benefit of being an outsourcer. So that's just a quick snapshot of what Ryder's about. Over the years, as a public company, it's important that we continue to grow. Organically is one way, but also through acquisitions is another. And so over the years, we're going to do 1 or 2 acquisitions a year on average, if you will. Sometimes they come in bunches. Think about it, the nature of our business is a little bit different. Especially as a head of our corporate strategy group, we think about how we're going to grow the company long term. You look at it a couple different ways. In our leasing and rental business, the market is there's 2 dominant national players. There's Ryder and a company called Penske Truck Leasing. We have about 50% of the market in total. After that, it gets much smaller. You have a very fragmented population of providers below that. To give you an example, we're a 100,000 truck fleet. The number 3 player is about 5,000, so much smaller. So over the years, we've been deploying a strategy to try to buy these smaller players and consolidate the market. And you can see we've probably bought 10 or 12 companies over the last decade. So that's a strategy we deploy in the leasing and rental business. It makes a lot of sense. Investors like it because we're able to buy the contracts, acquire some facilities, leverage the whole infrastructure, and we could drop earnings to the bottom line immediately. Supply chain's a little different story. Supply chain, we're really based, we have a vertically focused business, so we have automotive industry groups, we have high tech, consumer packaged goods, an industrial group, and also a retail group. So there, we look to more acquisitions, look to be more, try to add capabilities we don't have today. So as you leverage some of this knowledge you get in school, you're going to see that. Some strategies are roll-up strategies, some of them are going to be adding capabilities. Really more around adding capabilities in the supply chain vertical. So there, we bought, back in 2010, we bought a company, Total Logistic Control. That really created our consumer packaged goods vertical. It's been a great acquisition for us. As we look forward, especially around retail. We may try to add capabilities, whether it's in reverse logistics or consolidation, deconsolidation services. So really the focus there is on buying stuff that we don't have today is the way to grow, is a good way to grow the business. The focus always is going to be on organic growth for us, but acquisitions provide a nice way to supplement that growth. Okay, and now I want to touch on a couple other topics for us. Really, it's around, as you know, certain buzzwords of the day. Innovation is one of them. You probably hear it in your classes from time to time. All companies want to try to innovate in some way. You want to try to change what you offer a little bit to help grow your business faster and be more profitable. So we look at a couple ways. One way for us is around onboard telematics. So the ability to monitor what's happening out there on the road and with the driver and with the truck are really value adds for customers. So we're adding capability to all of our trucks now that allow us to monitor. We can get diagnostics sent to us on the road saying this unit is there's a light flashing and the driver hasn't pulled over. So sometimes that's a big problem because if he doesn't pull over and do something, the whole truck could break down. So we're able to monitor that, get messages out to customers much faster. We can monitor how the driver's actually driving the truck, right? Is he driving too fast? Is he braking? Is he slamming? You know, is he being dangerous? Because at the end of the day, these are huge vehicles on the road. If you have an accident, you could cause massive damage. So these are all ways to monitor safety as well as efficiency because cost of fuel, even though it is coming down, it's still very expensive. These kind of rigs are not fuel efficient. They may go around 5-6 miles per gallon. So, at $4 a gallon, you're going to be spending a lot of money on fuel. Fuel's a very big cost in the transportation business. So these are ways to help our customers drive more efficiency in their own offering, as well as allows us to be more efficient in our maintenance offering. Another area of innovation for us is around natural gas. With the price of gas today, natural gas is half the price of diesel fuel. So there's a lot of efficiencies just from being able to run natural gas versus diesel. So we're probably in the lead in that. We have about 400 units in our fleet today. We expect that to double next year. So it's growing at a nice clip. And it's really something out there that it is probably the wave of the future. We'll see how much it takes. There's a lot of questions as to what percentage of the market will be natural gas as you look 10, 15 years out. You can hear upwards of 25% at some point. And so it's good for the economy if you're a green type, or the environment if you're a green of that. But for us, it's an investment. These type of vehicles, the same thing you find in your cars. If you're out going to buy a hybrid today, hybrids are going to be more expensive than a gas-powered vehicle. The premium is upwards of $50,000 per vehicle. So there's a lot of it does have a payback, though, because the fuel efficiency, the gas costs half as much, so you do make it back over time. So for us, we've really have taken the lead with our customers, helping them innovate in this area. And it's been important because it's really opened up a lot of new growth opportunities for us, and we're really excited about it. So that's kind of the background on Ryder. I always like to have a little bit of a selling pitch here and talk about my finance organization, right? Since this is all you are masters of finance or undergrads in business. So this is kind of our structure at Ryder. We have about in North America, we have about 700 finance professionals in our group, and a couple hundred, almost 250, are in our global headquarters in Miami. You can see, like Karen said earlier, my roles and responsibility cover, we have a shared service center in Atlanta, which about 350 people are there. About half of our group is in Atlanta. And that's a consolidation of what we used to do, a lot of the billing, and credit and collection functions we used to do dispersed across hundreds of facilities. We consolidated that into Atlanta about 15 years ago. So it's a core part of what we do. Can't get anything done really in the company without getting that through billing, because if you can't bill your customer and get paid, it's not worth doing it too often. Then you have more your typical functions, corporate, you have a VP controller, so more your corporate accounting type functions, and that's really in Miami. Corporate tax, investor relations, and corporate strategy group. That's always a fun area. We're on the road. As CFO, we spend a lot of time with investors, myself and the CEO. Actually, today the CEO is at a conference in New York, and tomorrow he'll be at a conference in Boston. So we're usually on the road this time of year. It's after every quarter, after we release earnings, we then go out onto the conference circuit and meet with investors. So we're on the road 4 or 5 times a quarter talking to investors. We have an internal audit group. So that's a group that actually does come up here, I think, and recruit really the undergrad accounting hires typically is what we're looking at there, as well as maybe IT professionals. Corporate treasury, corporate development group here is a group that is important to us as a financing company. We have probably $4 billion worth of debt on our books. So we're out in the debt markets every day issuing commercial paper or issuing long-term financings as they're needed. Dan Sussick, who is the lead there, also handles our corporate development group. So there we have an M&A team. We're out talking to that fragmented market that I covered earlier. We're out speaking with those family-owned businesses. That's typically what it is. We're doing that every 6 months. We're on the phone. Hey, you interested in selling your business to us and the like? Or in the supply chain space, they are typically more corporate-owned things that go to market. PE investors have held it for a while. They want to sell it. That's usually the space we're dealing with. Strategic sourcing. I talked to some students today who are in the strategic sourcing program. That's critical to us, especially with the amount of money we spend every year. Dealing with your vendors and optimizing that spend is as important sometimes as dealing with your customers. And then we also have supply chain, a CFO of supply chain solutions and a CFO of our leasing and rental business, and those are critical functions, and they have a lot of field finance teams below them that are really dispersed out with all the accounts across the country. So a wide range of backgrounds there and expertise in our finance roles. Again, here are the key finance departments we have within the company, where I typically see hires coming out of school. You kind of get in our accounting groups with undergrads. Corporate development and M&A have been really focused on MBAs or Masters in Finance. Field finance is another area where we deploy. We have a program at Ryder where I was telling Karen that we hire about 5 MBA Masters type people every year that just go into that I'm responsible for, if you will. We then deploy them within our finance team, so they may spend some time and maybe spend 6 months in field finance or in planning, 6 months in pricing and the like. And then as they work through the organization, a lot of times they take full-time positions outside that. And then at that point, they leave me and I bring in 4 or 5 more the next year. That's kind of the goal of the program. So hopefully we can get some interest from you guys over the years here. But wide range of opportunities, depends on what your background is and frame of reference. So the last piece I had was just Ryder people, and that is, it's part of it is it's important how we work and what we do, but it's not just work all the time. It's what we provide back to the community and the like. It's important to you as you move out, whether you're with Ryder or somebody else. For us, we're really involved in the United Way. We're a big sponsor of them in South Florida and across the country. And then also, obviously, with what we do, working with the American Red Cross was a no-brainer. For us, safety is critical, and then we have the logistic capability to help. So during any disaster you name, whether it's Sandy or Katrina and the like, we provide a lot of resources to the American Red Cross to help them through that. So we're a national partner with them on that. And obviously, we have diversity and inclusion. It's a key part of us, of what we're about, is that you want to have as many points of view in the discussion. Transportation is typically a male-dominated business, has been, but we're seeing that change now over time, and we're really trying to lead the way around that. So that was kind of my pitch. I wanted just to give you a little background on Ryder, and then and what we do, and how important finance is to what we do. And I guess with that, I can then field some questions.
Why don't you tell them, before they start the questions, a little bit about how you got there and what your background was, and then we'll open it up.
Okay. Yeah, again, I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. Came up here to school and did the same thing you guys are doing, had a great time for my 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. And went, at that point I was unsure about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to work. So I was fortunate enough to have job offers. At that point I had job offers in Dallas. I thought I wanted to move to Texas and Atlanta. So I thought I wanted to move to Atlanta, Tampa, and then Miami. Because I really wasn't from Miami. So of course my parents at that point saw some confusion in me, and they said, well, why don't you move to Miami and we'll buy you a house if you go to Miami. So I said, okay, fine. So I took a job with Coopers & Lybrand in Miami. So then they kind of changed the game on me after I accepted the job. They didn't buy me the house, but so then I've been down there ever since then, right? So 30 years now in Miami. So that's kind of where I'm from at this point. Like I said earlier, public accounting was a great start for me. It was, the nature of the business is you're out with, Ryder's like a different account than what you typically would see in Miami. Because we have a team that's for us that work there the whole year round. They're on our account. They're almost like an employee. They come to Ryder every day. But most accounts in Miami, in South Florida, you're going to be all over South Florida. You're going to have 10 plus accounts in all different businesses. And that's the great thing of it. You learn so much when you see how every company, handles their business issues, the way they structure their finance organizations, the way they structure everything in the company. You'll see that. It's a very good learning environment for you. Also in public accounting, especially, you learn the benefit of teamwork, right? Because it's teams. You don't get anything accomplished by yourself, really. So you have to learn how to, you kind of learn from the beginning, and then eventually you become a manager. You learn how to lead people. You learn how to motivate people, how to evaluate them, to give them feedback, to make them better. Because that's all part of managing any group, is you got to make the group better. So great learning environment there. At that point, decided I wanted to, public accounting is a certain lifestyle, whether you want to do that or not. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I moved to Ryder. I had done some work as Ryder was selling businesses, I had worked with some of the companies that were buying those businesses. I had done a lot of the due diligence and all that. So I kind of knew some of the players at Ryder. So it made sense for me to move. Like anything in life, I came in, again, like as you said, as a senior manager. Guy who hired me 3 months later left to go to a different company. So I got a battlefield promotion, and you start moving on from there, right? Halftime life is, you got to be good and to some extent, right? But sometimes it's always helpful to be right place at the right time. You have to have a viewpoint of working through times when it's not always easy, right? And that's really where you can get a chance to shine, is when things are a little more chaotic in the life. So from there, I started just taking on additional responsibilities, became the controller 2001. And then as we were working through our succession planning as a company, it was important that we tried to promote from within. So my boss, who's now the CEO, was the CFO at the time. He was promoted into a new role, and I took over as the CFO. So that was 3 years ago, September. And it's like anything. It's you always think you know the job until you actually are in the job, and then you realize you don't know all about the job. So it's been a lot of things I've learned over the 3 years. It's been a great 3 years, right? We've continued to grow the company. We're record earnings right now, and it's really, we don't see a lot of limitations as we look out. So it's been a great ride so far.
Questions?
You talked earlier about like the oil fluctuations and like prices changing. I was wondering if, like because you're such a heavily transported company, like you guys like go to banks and get your derivative contracts and like lock those prices in.
Right.
Do you dabble in that at all?
Yeah, the thing I didn't cover it there, but for us, fuel is an ancillary product offering, because really, we're not really the company. In our dedicated business, we're doing the transportation, so we're actually having to buy the fuel. But in most cases, we just sell fuel to customers to help them, and it's a pure pass-through. So price goes up from $3 to $4, then the customer's price goes up. So we don't really hedge fuel. We do more hedging around interest rates, but it's, because for us we have such a big balance sheet, we have $4 billion of debt, we try to manage how much of that's fixed rate, floating rate. So we usually do more interest rate swaps and collars and things like that, the like.
So when you guys pick up those like smaller companies, you guys do that through like cash and credit, or is that like an allocation of like shares because you're like a public company? Like, do you give them shares?
Yeah, we typically will buy them with cash.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to issue shares. We try to avoid that if possible. But that's a good question. Typically it's a straight cash deal. We'll pay like $200 million for the company and just move on. Okay.
In your time at Florida State, were you involved with any organizations, or did you do any extracurricular activities that you think really prepared you for your career?
I was in Beta Alpha Psi. I'm trying to think of what I did. I probably did the same thing most of you guys did. I was first year. I was a freshman. I joined a fraternity. Lived in fraternity house a couple years. Was Beta Alpha Psi my last couple years, and then I think all those things prepare you, right? I wasn't a real active kind of guy. I think I was okay. So it's in that sense, But I think all that prepares you. I think the fraternity helps, that environment, learning how to work as a team with people and stuff like that. So, and then I'm sure it's different now than it was. I was the last class that you could graduate. Back when I was going to school, you only needed a 4-year degree to take the CPA exam in Florida. Whereas now you have to have a master's, and so it changed when I was there, so we were really bent to get out and get out and start working. So it's probably a little different now. I think the curriculums are probably a little different, but those were the main things I was involved in. All right, well.
Are you sure?
Thanks for coming. If you guys have any interest, and you can always send me your resume. I'll leave the business card with the team here. So I know as you move on, if it makes sense, you always send me your background, because I always have a soft place in my heart for Florida State. Okay. Thank you.